One lesson that wasn't on the syllabus changed everything between them, but some lessons are better left unspoken. The story begins on the first day of a new semester. The student, a 22-year-old male named Alex, is nervously walking into his first lecture of the year. As he enters the lecture hall, he is immediately struck by the presence of his professor, Dr. Evelyn Clark. She's a 40-year-old woman with a quiet confidence that demands attention, yet her gracefulness adds a warmth to her authority. Alex isn't the only one captivated by her. There's something magnetic about the way she speaks and carries herself. But for Alex, it's different. From the moment he sees her, he feels something stir inside him that he can't quite explain. As the lecture begins, Dr. Clark's voice fills the room, steady and confident, commanding the attention of every student. Alex, sitting in the middle of the classroom, can't help but admire the way she speaks, not just the words she uses, but the passion that laces them. Her voice is calm yet powerful, her eyes engaging the students, making each of them feel as though she is speaking directly to them. She's a professor with years of experience, yet there's a vulnerability in her voice that is hard to miss. The way she moves around the room, explaining the concepts with effortless precision, makes it clear that she is passionate about what she does. For Alex, there's something almost hypnotic about the rhythm of her speech, the way she uses her hands to emphasize key points. She is elegant, composed, and undeniably beautiful in a way that makes him feel both awestruck and intimidated. Alex tries to focus on the lecture, but his mind keeps wandering back to Dr. Clark. There's a subtle intensity to her that he hasn't seen before in a teacher. He's noticed that a few other students are equally entranced, but there's something different in the way she interacts with him. When she pauses to ask a question to the class, her eyes flicker over to Alex, holding his gaze for a brief moment longer than necessary. In that instant, Alex feels as though the entire room fades into the background, and it's just the two of them. It's a silent acknowledgement, but it's enough to send a wave of nervous excitement through him. He forces himself to look away, but the feeling lingers, making his heart race. Throughout the class, Alex can't help but steal glances at her, her auburn hair pulled back neatly, the way her glasses sit on the bridge of her nose, and the way she subtly adjusts them when she looks at the chalkboard. There's something warm and inviting in the way she smiles when students answer questions, as if she genuinely values their input. It's a quality Alex hasn't often found in professors before. It's this balance of authority and approachability that leaves him feeling both respected and comfortable. As the lecture comes to an end, Dr. Clark dismisses the class, but not before giving Alex one last look. There's a soft smile on her lips, a silent acknowledgement that he's paying attention in a way most students don't. As the room empties, Alex is left behind for a moment, trying to make sense of the strange pull he feels toward her. It's as though something has shifted inside him, and he can't quite figure out why. As he leaves the room, Alex doesn't know it yet, but this first encounter with Dr. Clark will set in motion a series of events that will forever change the course of his life. He's already thinking about the next lecture, but more than the subject matter, it's her presence that's on his mind, something he can't ignore, even if he wants to. A few weeks into the semester, Alex's admiration for Dr. Clark has only deepened. He finds himself eagerly attending every class, not just because of the material but because of the quiet thrill he feels when she addresses him directly. While he tries to push aside his growing feelings, he can't help but notice how her presence in the lecture hall stirs something inside him. Yet, it's not just her beauty that captivates him. It's her sharp intellect, the way she effortlessly connects abstract ideas with real-world applications, making the most complex subjects seem not only understandable but fascinating. One afternoon, after class, Dr. Clark asks Alex to stay behind. His heart skips a beat as he watches the other students file out of the lecture hall, leaving him alone with her. As the last student walks out, she turns to him, her gaze steady but warm. "Alex," she begins, "I wanted to speak with you about your recent response during the discussion. It was insightful, and I think you have a unique perspective on the subject. Would you mind if we talked more about it?" Alex, caught off guard by her attention, stammers slightly before replying, "Of course, Dr. Clark. I'd be honored." Her smile is soft but genuine, and as she gestures for him to sit down, Alex feels a wave of both excitement and nervousness rush over him. The room is quieter now, and the only sound is the soft rustling of papers as she gathers her notes. There's something different about this moment, something more personal. Dr. Clark leans against her desk, and Alex takes the seat in front of her, hoping his hands aren't shaking. As they begin discussing the topic, Alex finds himself completely absorbed in the conversation. They delve into the material with ease, each building off the other's thoughts. Alex has always been a bright student, but with Dr. Clark, he feels challenged in a way he hasn't before. There's a subtle tension between them, not romantic yet, but one built on intellectual respect and an almost unspoken understanding. Every time he offers a new insight, she nods approvingly, her eyes lighting up with appreciation. There's something magnetic about the way she listens, attentive, engaged, and thoughtful. The conversation shifts from the lecture to more personal topics, as they begin discussing the motivations behind their work. Dr. Clark confesses that she loves teaching because it allows her to continuously learn. It's this passion for lifelong learning that draws Alex in. She speaks about her own experiences, her travels, the research she's done, and Alex finds himself completely engrossed, captivated by the way she articulates her ideas. She's not just a professor, she's a person with a rich, lived experience. As the conversation continues, their verbal exchange becomes more fluid, with each of them bouncing ideas off the other. Alex notices how easily they slip into this comfortable rhythm, how every word she speaks seems to hold weight, but also how she values his input. Her respect for him isn't just professional, it's personal, too. She's not just a teacher grading his work, she's genuinely interested in his thoughts. That realization settles into Alex's chest, and he feels a growing sense of pride. But it's not just the intellectual connection that surprises him, it's the subtle hints of something more, something unspoken. At one point, as they lean over a textbook together, their arms brush briefly. The contact is so fleeting, yet the warmth of her skin lingers on his for a moment longer than it should. Alex tries to focus on the text, but his mind is spinning. She's not just an intellectual equal, she's something more, a woman who challenges him, who sees him in a way no one else does. As the conversation wraps up, Dr. Clark smiles at him warmly. "Thank you, Alex. Your perspective always brings something fresh to the discussion." She gathers her things, and for a split second, their eyes meet. The connection is undeniable, and although it's still delicate and unspoken, it's there, an intellectual spark that neither can ignore. As Alex leaves the classroom, his mind is racing. He's not sure if it's the challenge of the discussion or something more profound, but something inside him shifts. He feels closer to Dr. Clark in this moment than he ever has before, and though he doesn't fully understand it, he knows this is the beginning of something that will only grow stronger. The admiration has deepened into something more complex, and for the first time, he wonders if maybe, just maybe, she feels it too. One afternoon, after a particularly intense class, Alex finds himself lingering behind, as he often does, to clarify some questions about his project. The classroom empties, and the usual post-class chatter fades into the distance. He's used to seeing Dr. Clark collect her things and disappear into her office, but today feels different. Her pace is slower than usual, and as Alex gathers his things, she calls him over. "Alex, if you have a moment, could you come to my office? I think we should discuss your project in more detail." The invitation, though professional, sends a rush of excitement through Alex. It's not uncommon for professors to want to talk to their best students one-on-one, but there's something in Dr. Clark's tone today, an underlying softness, that he hasn't noticed before. When he enters her office, the atmosphere shifts. The space is intimate and welcoming, with bookshelves filled with academic texts and personal mementos. Soft sunlight filters through the blinds, casting long shadows on the polished desk. The sound of a distant clock ticking is the only noise, amplifying the quiet tension between them. "Please, sit down," Dr. Clark gestures to the chair opposite her, and Alex notices the slight vulnerability in her expression. There's something different about her today, her usually poised demeanor seems to have loosened, and she appears, almost human. Not the professor who commands the room, but someone who, in this moment, shares something of herself. As they discuss the project, the conversation veers into personal territory. Dr. Clark admits that she doesn't often get to connect with her students on this level, especially not about the deeper themes of her work. She speaks of her past, her career sacrifices, her quiet struggles with loneliness, and her yearning to connect with someone who truly understands her intellectual passions. Her voice wavers slightly, a rare crack in her usually composed exterior. "I think we all have to make sacrifices," she says quietly, her fingers lightly tapping on the surface of her desk. "But sometimes, I wonder if the cost is worth it." Alex, moved by her vulnerability, responds with his own thoughts. He confesses how he's felt disconnected from others in his life, how his academic ambitions have kept him isolated from his peers. Their shared sense of intellectual isolation creates an unexpected bond between them, one that feels both familiar and fragile. The moment lingers, but there's something else there, something more than just mutual understanding. As Alex speaks, he notices the way Dr. Clark watches him, her eyes softened, her lips parted as though she's weighing her next words. He can feel the weight of her gaze, the way it pins him in place, making him acutely aware of every detail, the warmth of her voice, the slight flutter in her breath as she listens to him. Then, the conversation shifts when Dr. Clark casually brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, a nervous, almost unconscious movement. She pauses, her gaze lingering a little too long on him, and Alex catches his breath. For a brief moment, it feels like they're the only two people in the world, existing in this small, intimate space. Her vulnerability, her openness, makes her even more captivating, but Alex knows this is dangerous territory. Before he can collect his thoughts, she stands and begins gathering her things. "I'm glad we could talk," she says, her voice steady again, but there's an undercurrent of something unspoken in her tone. "Let me know if you need anything else for your project." Alex nods, feeling the sudden distance between them. The warmth of the moment has evaporated, replaced by the realization of the boundaries they both must maintain. But as he turns to leave, he catches a glimpse of Dr. Clark's eyes, still soft, still filled with something that hints at a deeper connection. Something more than just student and professor. He walks out of her office, the door closing softly behind him, but his mind is still reeling. He's unsure if the closeness they shared was real or just a product of his overactive imagination, but as he steps into the hallway, he can't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary conversation. It was a moment that neither of them will be able to forget, no matter how hard they try. As the semester progresses, Alex and Dr. Clark's academic discussions evolve from formal lectures to something more personal. Their one-on-one conversations after class become more frequent, often lasting longer than necessary. What began as simple academic curiosity has slowly transformed into something deeper. Alex has always admired Dr. Clark's intellect, but now, he finds himself noticing other things: her smile, the way she tucks a strand of hair behind her ear when she's concentrating, the quiet strength she carries in every movement. One late afternoon, after a particularly engaging lecture, Dr. Clark invites Alex to her office for a private discussion. She mentions that she wants to talk about a recent assignment, but there's something about her tone that makes Alex feel like there's more to this invitation than just academic business. He feels a flutter of excitement, mixed with a tinge of nervousness. It's becoming more difficult to ignore the growing tension between them, though neither of them has openly acknowledged it. As Alex enters her office, he's struck by how different the space feels when it's just the two of them. The usual hum of the classroom has faded, replaced by a strange quietness. The low light from the desk lamp casts soft shadows around the room, and the air feels warmer than usual, thick with unspoken words. Dr. Clark is sitting at her desk, surrounded by piles of papers, but her eyes lift to meet Alex's as he enters. She smiles, gently, almost imperceptibly, and gestures for him to sit across from her. "Alex, thank you for coming by. I wanted to talk about your recent paper, but I also think it's time we discuss something a bit more personal." She pauses, as if weighing her words carefully. There's a softness in her voice that's unfamiliar to Alex, and it sends a wave of warmth through him. Alex nods, sitting down with a mixture of curiosity and anticipation. Of course, Dr. Clark. What's on your mind? She leans back in her chair, folding her arms across her chest as she looks at him. Well, for starters, I wanted to say that your work has been exceptional. But I also wanted to ask you something about the way you approach your studies. You're clearly passionate, but I wonder, do you feel like your work ever gets in the way of connecting with others? Students, friends, anyone outside of academia? The question catches Alex off guard, and for a moment, he isn't sure how to respond. He's always been focused on his studies, often feeling disconnected from those around him, but it's the first time anyone has asked him about it in such a personal way. Dr. Clark's gaze is soft, but there's an intensity to it, an unspoken understanding of his struggles that Alex finds both comforting and unnerving. I never really thought about it that way, Alex admits, his voice quieter than usual. I guess I've always put school first, and it's made it hard to form meaningful connections with others. Dr. Clark nods, as if she understands all too well. It's a balancing act, isn't it? I've found that the deeper I immerse myself in my work, the more I tend to shut out everything else. It's easy to lose sight of the people around us when we're so focused on our own pursuits. The vulnerability in her words surprises Alex. He's always seen Dr. Clark as this poised, unflappable professor, never showing any sign of doubt or uncertainty. But in this moment, she seems more like a person than a figure of authority, someone who carries the same weight of loneliness and internal conflict that he does. Without thinking, Alex leans forward slightly, his elbows resting on his knees as he listens intently. You're not alone in that. I think that's why I admire you so much. The way you balance everything, you're always so composed, so confident. It's something I wish I could do. At the compliment, Dr. Clark's expression softens. For a split second, she looks at him not just as a student, but as someone who truly sees her, someone who appreciates her for more than just her intellect. It's a moment of connection that neither of them anticipated, and it lingers in the air between them. There's an undeniable tension now, more than just intellectual admiration. Their proximity feels charged, the air between them thick with something unspoken. Dar. Clark shifts slightly in her chair, and her hand brushes against the papers on her desk. The touch is light but intimate, and Alex can't help but notice it, how she presses her fingers down gently, as if to steady herself. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The silence between them is charged, filled with the weight of their unacknowledged attraction. Then, Dr. Clark clears her throat, pulling herself back into professional mode. Well, I think that's enough for today. Let's wrap up our conversation for now. Alex stands up, his mind racing. He's not sure what just happened, but he knows one thing for sure, there's a growing pull between him and Dr. Clark, one that neither of them can ignore for much longer. As he walks out of her office, he feels both exhilarated and conflicted. He doesn't know where this connection will lead, but he can't deny that something has shifted. And with that realization comes the uncomfortable knowledge that things may never be the same between them again. The weeks have passed, and Alex feels the weight of the unspoken connection between him and Dr. Clark growing heavier. Their intellectual bond has deepened, but so has the quiet, simmering attraction between them. Though neither of them has acknowledged it aloud, it's become impossible to ignore. One afternoon, after class, Dr. Clark asks Alex to stay behind. There's a nervous energy in the air, something different about her demeanor today. She smiles at him, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. Alex, I've been thinking, she begins, her voice softer than usual. You've been one of my best students, and there's something about the way you engage with the material. It's rare to see someone so present. But I think it's time we have a different kind of discussion. The shift in her tone immediately piques Alex's curiosity. There's a subtle hesitation in her voice that makes him feel like he's being drawn into something deeper, something beyond academic exchange. He nods, unsure of what to expect. This isn't on the syllabus, Dr. Clark continues, stepping closer to the desk where Alex sits, her gaze locking with his. The air between them thickens, and Alex can feel his pulse quicken. I want to talk about life outside of academia, about connection, and about desire. Her words hang in the air, heavy with implication. She's speaking with a level of openness that feels both liberating and dangerous. Alex, his heart pounding, senses the boundary between them shifting. The professor who has always maintained a clear, professional distance is now offering him something different, something personal. Her eyes linger on his, searching, almost as if waiting for him to say something. But Alex is too overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment to speak. He simply sits there, unable to break the spell of her gaze, caught between a longing he doesn't fully understand and the unspoken rules they've both respected up until now. After their conversation in the office, something has shifted between Alex and Dr. Clark. There's an undeniable pull between them now, but it's also clouded by the weight of their professional roles. The tension lingers in the quiet moments they share, but neither of them knows how to address it. Still, there's a sense of comfort in their shared silences, and both begin to open up in ways that they never have before. One afternoon, after class, Dr. Clark invites Alex to stay behind for a follow-up discussion about his recent paper. As the last students leave, she motions for him to sit down. This time, there's no academic talk, no notes or lectures, just two people having an honest conversation. I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation, Dr. Clark begins, her voice uncharacteristically soft. About what you said, about feeling disconnected. I understand that. I've always been so focused on my career, so driven by my work, that I sometimes forget to nurture other parts of my life. And I'm afraid I've let that part of me, my personal life, slip away. The vulnerability in her words surprises Alex. Dr. Clark has always been so composed, a figure of authority in the classroom, but in this moment, she is no longer the professor. She is just a woman, sharing her struggles with someone who seems to understand. Alex feels a deep empathy stir within him, realizing that, despite their age difference, they are more alike than he ever imagined. I think I've done the same, Alex admits quietly, meeting her gaze. I've thrown myself into my studies because it's easier than facing the world outside of them. But sometimes, it feels like I'm missing something. Like I'm losing touch with people. There's a long pause as Dr. Clark looks at him, her expression thoughtful. Maybe we both need to learn how to let go a little, she says softly, her eyes searching his. In that moment, Alex feels a shift. There's an emotional rawness that both of them have shared, something that goes beyond the intellectual connection they've cultivated. It's a realization that their bond is more than just a meeting of minds, it's a shared understanding of loneliness and longing. It's in their vulnerability, in the quiet admission of their deepest fears, that they finally see each other as equals, not just professor and student. This moment of emotional exchange lingers between them, leaving them both with the unspoken understanding that their connection is no longer confined to the boundaries of their roles. It's something more, something deeper, and it leaves them both feeling a little less alone. The semester is nearing its end, and Alex can feel the weight of the time he spent with Dr. Clark, moments of connection, vulnerability, and the tension that has silently built between them. But as the final days of the term approach, the reality of their situation settles in. The undeniable bond they've shared, which has been both a source of deep connection and unspoken tension, must soon come to a close. It's the last meeting of the semester, and Dr. Clark has asked Alex to stay after class one final time. She wants to offer him feedback on his work, but there's more in her eyes today, something that speaks of both pride and a quiet sadness, as though she knows this will be their last moment alone, at least for a while. Alex, you've done exceptional work this semester, she begins, her tone warm but laced with an undercurrent of something unspoken. Not just in your academic achievements, but in how you've engaged with the material, how you've pushed boundaries. It's been a privilege to have you in my class. Alex, feeling the weight of her words, nods, unsure of how to respond. He's spent so many weeks trying to navigate the line between admiration and attraction, trying to keep his emotions in check. But now, in this final moment, there's a deep, quiet ache that he can't deny. His heart swells with gratitude and something else, something bittersweet. "Thank you, Dr. Clark," Alex replies, his voice a little strained. "It's been an honor learning from you." She smiles softly, her gaze lingering on him for a moment longer than usual. It's not the typical professor-student smile, it's something more, something that speaks of shared understanding and unspoken feelings. For a brief moment, their eyes lock, and in that silence, everything between them feels understood. The tension that has defined their relationship is still there, but it's no longer something that holds them apart. It's something that they've both silently accepted, something that will remain between them even after they part ways. As Alex stands to leave, he feels a tug of hesitation. He doesn't want to walk away, not when there's so much left unsaid, but he knows that it's time. Their connection, beautiful and intense, must remain what it is, something meaningful but fleeting. Alex feels a quiet sadness settle in his chest. He can't deny the feelings he has for her, but he also knows that their paths are different now. The classroom, the papers, the private discussions, they're all coming to an end. Dr. Clark stands as well, her movements slow but deliberate. She walks toward him, and for a brief moment, Alex wonders if she will say something, anything, that will change the nature of their relationship. But instead, she places a hand gently on his shoulder, her touch soft but full of meaning. "Goodbye, Alex. You have great things ahead of you," she says, her voice steady, though there's a softness in her tone that betrays the quiet emotion she's holding back. Alex nods, his throat tight. "Goodbye, Dr. Clark. Thank you, for everything." With that, he turns and walks out of her office, the door clicking softly behind him. As he walks down the hallway, he feels the weight of the moment settling in. He knows this is the end of their time together in this context, but the impact of their connection, the conversations, the shared moments, will stay with him. Though their relationship remains unconsummated, it's left an indelible mark on both of them. There's a quiet peace in knowing that what they shared was real, if not completely explored. As Alex leaves the building, he takes a deep breath, ready to move forward, carrying the lessons not just from the classroom, but from the person who taught him so much more than academic subjects. And as for Dr. Clark, she watches Alex leave, a lingering smile on her lips. She knows this is the right decision, but the echo of their shared connection will stay with her long after he's gone.